learned from somewhere.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah, I think that there's some learned societal expectations of what marriage is and what a husband is, and and not even again, unspoken expectations that were just I was what do you call it, overlaying upon him, that I had to let go of and just see things for what they were, and really appreciate what was there.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And this work has been kind of, or the way that I talk about this work, or the distinctions have evolved over some time. And so, but one of the ways that I might talk about that is what shifted was the clearing in which your husband shows up, and the clearing in which you and your husband show up. And one of the things that's been getting clearer for me over the years in doing this work is that transformation, you could say that it's something that happens inside our head or inside of us, but where it really shows up is out there, how things show up, how we show up for ourselves, but basically how things show up. And there was a kind of letting go of something that you were holding on to, which, by the way, we all hold on to with our spouses. I know I do. Awesome. That's great. Thank you, Kim. Cool. Who else?
I can go. What has persisted for me, kind of in the similar to Kim, is the idea and thoughts around the clearing and how we show up to conversations. And then the second thing is language, the importance of language, and becoming better aware of that, and the language that I use and how it impacts those around me, and really taking notice of the language other folks use as well.
Yeah. So I'm gonna coach you just a little bit, Chemo, and this is probably coaching for a lot of us. So so sharing is a mode of communication in which another person has a taste of what it is that you're sharing. And so I'm going to ask you to share. So how has that shown up? So I did this a little bit with Kim and with you. And the reason I'm making a big deal about it is that oftentimes when we share, it doesn't really have the kind of impact that we wish for. And then we end up not sharing as much. When in fact, the invitation is to share, but to share in a way that the other person, like something becomes available for the other person, and that's not just abstract. So how does what you just said show up? What would be an example, or where have you noticed that concretely?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just didn't want to get into a long-winded, as I tend to do. So I'm still working on that. How this has shown up similar so we have I guess the best way is and the most closest is our family we have a business with my daughters, and so it obviously, because they're sisters and family, the conversation can get very heated, and using and leveraging the thought around the clearing and how folks are coming to the conversation, what things are they making up, what stories are they bringing, has helped not only myself better communicate with them, but also give us sort of an anchor into a better way of talking to each other, because now we can have some awareness around that, and better conversations around probing why someone might be thinking the way they did. Did they come into the conversation? Did they have a story in their head and that they started making up other things and stacking them together, so that so
right,
having that language helped us immensely. Yeah, go ahead.
So what shifted, or what is it that you would say that you brought such that because clearly something shifted in that family energy. I mean, clearly. And what would you say that you know, maybe that you brought in, or a way that you showed up such that occurred?
I think the technique that we practice simply allowed me to hold a better state in order to have a better conversation. And the conversation really was around raising awareness of them taking notice of their language and what they're saying to each other, right? And really the possibility that there's a better way, right? Can they see a better way and to do it? And then me walking through a better way, even though that the topic at hand was a very sensitive topic, almost demonstrating how we can still have a conversation even though the topic is sensitive.
Yeah. So I would assert that you brought us. So first of all, there's maybe some skillfulness in managing that sort of kind of conversation. And I would assert that there is a way of being, that something in you shifted such that it became possible for people to feel like they could engage in these kinds of conversations with you. Because I would dare say it may not have been possible before.
Oh, I would absolutely agree that prior to the inner path, I wouldn't have been able to have this kind of conversation, or it would have been more of dad talking to his daughters and my wife, and from that context. But now our communication with awareness now is a bit more deliberate and purposeful. And there's it's family, so you still have there's still slip and fall back, but everyone now has a better awareness. And for me, as I said before, the language that I was introduced, the techniques that I was introduced, allowed us or me to introduce that and practice that with family, which is really one of the toughest places to have these kinds of conversations. Awesome. Because we all know each other's buttons.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Great. That's fabulous, Kimo. Thank you. I almost want to invite us to sort of applaud when people share something. I don't know. Can we do that? Is that just, or is that, I mean, I'm feeling like I'm wanting some kind of energy of acknowledgement, right? So, and I want to just also invite us to notice our listening as people are sharing. Are we listening? Are we listening for what might this sharing open up for me? So for me, both Kim and Kimo, what they've shared has already opened something up for me, some new possibilities for me. So great, thank you. Cool. Maybe let's hear from a couple more people. Share what we're doing, Brian, just so you know. We're inviting people to share what possibility did you create, whether it was an inner path or ETLP, that has somehow persisted. And Shuan has raised his hand. And okay, great.
Yes, thank you. I want to share my relationship with myself, especially when I don't feel that I have done enough. And I would like to share an example. For example, I would like to start a project or initiative with some people that I know of. And their initial response is lukewarm or not very receptive. And in the past, my reaction tend to be negative, like why don't they see the point that I have expressed and shared? And for now, I usually look more inward. Besides, are they having difficulty seeing what I share? Or I see more of my expectation of myself? Is it that I expect myself to be successful?
To be what? What was that last word?
Successful?
Sensational?
or successful? Do I see myself to be successful,
Yes.
to be right most of the time? I see this feedback not about them, it's about me. How I see the not so positive response as something on myself.
Yeah. And in what sense has that freed you up?
Because the usual response that I usually have is to say that, oh, you don't see, you don't get it. And it's kind of like freeing the prison that I create in my own self. Because I put a negative frame on others, and when I see them, I use that negative frame to see them again.
Yeah, yeah.
And this negative frame is not actually affecting them, actually affecting myself.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like I imprison myself.
Yeah,
Yeah. By not imprison myself, I feel that there may be other opportunity. Maybe that's really what they see and their opinion and their what they believe at this moment.
Yeah.
So as long as I'm not putting the prison in myself, I feel freer. I let go of I need to be doing the right thing or being successful.
Yeah, yeah. And what where I hear the freedom coming in that, I mean, probably at least a couple of places, but one place where I see that freedom come in is that you are now unstoppable in your mission. You're not dissuaded from your mission, you know, and if because you're taking responsibility for how other people are showing up, including maybe they don't, you know, I mean, I see, by the way, what you're saying speaks very, very, how many people can relate to what Shuan is sharing right now personally? Totally. I mean, this is like the theme song of human being, which is that I'm not enough. And then I look for proof that I'm not enough. And I relate to other people, the entire world, as, you know, like proving, oh, okay, there it is. There's proof that I'm not enough. And what you're are sharing with us is what can happen when I take responsibility for that other people show up in a way that has me see myself as unsuccessful. And boy, yeah, that really lands in my gut. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shuan. Anything else?
I'm good for the moment.
Great. Thank you for that. Beautiful. Tilman. Hello.
Hi.
Great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you and a couple of other faces here that I already know. Yeah, what I wanted to share is a little bit similar, actually, than what Shuan also said, but a little bit different nuance about basically being clear about my intention and expressing it while doing something, particularly at work. I would say, like in working with teams or organizations, being kind of clear. Okay, I want to, you know, have this organization where people have an open discussion and value each other and have respect for each other. And sort of even knowing I don't really know how how I will do it, or that even knowing that I cannot do it, and that I don't have much of an idea on how to follow up on that intention, but still sort of express it either verbally or just by how I act, and kind of not be afraid that other people say like, nice intention, but you know, how are you going to do it, or something like this. I think that changed a lot. I was kind of before that always afraid to, you know, stand up for anything where I'm feeling not 100% sure I can follow up on it. And now I feel much more going into this space of uncertainty and risk, let's say, about, yeah, I don't know how it will happen, but still it's what I want to stand up for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. How many people get that? What Tillman is sharing? Yeah. 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 It's like, it's a little bit of like fake it till you make it, but in a really powerful way, you know, like because we think that who we are is our psychology. We think that who we are the feelings and the opinions and the assessments that we have of ourselves, especially of ourselves and of other people. We think all of that is who we are. And part of what this work invites us to consider is that that's not at all who we are. We have those things, but who we are is what we say, is what we declare, is that on which we stand, and on the standing on which we speak from that place. And it shifts the clearing. And then what happens is that then people start to interact with us from that new place. See, for the most part, we've trained everyone around us to interact with us the way that we interact with ourselves, which is via our psychology, our feelings. And so we've literally trained people to keep us imprisoned in our way that we see ourselves. And by doing what you're doing, Tillman, by declaring your intention, this is my intention. My intention is to create this. Are you with me? Can you feel how that language shifts the energy? And it starts to shift the way people interact with us. And, you know, for so many of the years that I've been doing some version of this kind of work, or consulting, and, you know, for the last, I don't know how many, 20 some odd years, I've been convinced all along that I'm a complete fake, total fake. And the thing that I've noticed is that if I can speak it, then it has a chance of becoming real. Thank you. Come on. Anything else?
Probably much else, but I think it's enough sharing for now.
yeah, that's right. Cool. Let's hear from one other person, one more person, and then you're going to go into pairs, and you'll share a bit with each other. But one other person, just to hear in the whole. So if
I would love to bring something in that I've noticed a big shift for the last, I guess it's been 3 years, Michael, right? That between ETLP and then mastery. And then, so one of the early things that I brought into that space was wanting or feeling that I always needed to be the expert. And so that started off this, I guess, awareness within myself of what that meant. And so the words I jotted down were that taking the space, slowing down, and sense making. And so where I want to give a couple of, I guess, a couple of personal and then a little bit of work example for me has been my reaction to a given situation. For me, it's been a very serious injury my greyhound sustained about 5 months ago, and how that's changed where I live, how I respond to her, to my significant other, and taking the time and the space to slow down, understand why I'm feeling anxious or angry or, you know, locked up inside a space, and realizing that's coming in from inside me and how I'm reacting to these external events. And rather than it's happened to me, it's a thing. It's just another thing. And the way I've been able to work through the anxiety and the sadness has been with this slowing down and the sense making. And that's also realizing when I kind of close back in, like I think someone else mentioned that with your daughters, I forget who that was, that sometimes those things come back in and you can't help but, go to your old way of doing things. So that's a recent, more personal situation where I think about that slowing down and the presence and the sense making. And with some of the people that I work with and report to me, I've brought that into the one-on-one conversations, and the piece that has been really powerful, especially I think in work situations, has been what would happen if you weren't the expert? What would happen if you were to say outright, I don't know that. I don't know how to do that. What would happen then? And bringing that level of awareness in it's been really powerful for me, for myself, and for some of the other people that I work with.
Yeah, that's great. How many are you? I mean, like something that I find remarkable is that with each person sharing, I can get the sense that even though they're sharing just a small little slice, that it's given me a glimpse into who this person is and who this person has created themselves. How many people sort of have that inkling as you're listening to people sharing? Yeah, awesome. So I think I need someone to help me with the breakout rooms. Who can volunteer to help me manage the breakout rooms? What I want to do is I want to have people in pairs right now, and I recognize that there may be one group that there'll be three of in, and so how would I do that? Who can help
Happy to help if you can give me co-host rights.
Okay, absolutely.
You go to participants.
Okay, all right.
Then you.
So I'll make you co-host, or shall I make you host?
Co-host should be good enough usually for breakout.
Okay, great, awesome. Okay.
And do you want to be in a breakout room yourself?
No, I can stay in the main room, and but okay. So so you guys are going to be. So thank you, Astrid. It occurred to me just before I got on here. It's like, oh, I might need help with breakouts. Thank you. So here's what you're going to do. You're just going to share with each other like what you've been doing here, and so continue this sort of kind of mode of sharing, and so you have about like maybe 10 minutes total. So not a tremendous amount of time, but enough really to kind of create some sharing, something that is alive for you, something that you created, a breakthrough or transformation you created for yourself that has persisted. Okay, so Astrid is going to do her magic. Oh.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Okay, so we're not going to hear what happened, but just like, so how was that?
That's great.
Best one-on-one I've had all week.
Yeah. Any, maybe just a few words that somebody wants to say about your experience of this whole, what we've been doing, this part about sharing. Maybe a voice we haven't heard yet.
It was like re-experiencing the breakthrough feeling.
Yes.
Together.
Yeah. I mean, it's palpable in the energy in this room. Very different energy than when we first started. So there's something powerful about creating an environment of sharing.
And what's showing up for me is through the conversation, accessing keys or ways into some of the concepts and ideas and ways of being that we learned. So, it's useful for me because through seeing it reflected in a different way in a different person's life in a different set of circumstances, allows me to see something different that I can then resonate with and consider. So that's what I'm seeing. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great.
I love bringing this in with people I've not met before.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love the idea of creating this as a community of graduates, and you get to know each other, but you already kind of know each other. Like there's a context in which you can immediately connect. And part of the intention of this of the Center for Inner Agility is to create a community in which that connection can happen. And so say a bit more about that in a moment. Does it feel like it would be useful for us to take a break for a few minutes just to do whatever we need to do? Yeah. Okay. All right.
I just have one comment, if that's okay.
Yeah, please. Oh, yes.
Because what came up for me now that you were asking this question is also that there's something here that is very, what is the right word? Relaxing or rewarding in having these sharing conversations where it's not about being perfect, it's not about showing all the things that you've just done right. It might also be that here's something I've been struggling with and I find a better way to do it.
Yeah, that's right. It's beautiful what you're saying, because it's really important to recognize that a breakthrough doesn't always look great. A breakthrough can sometimes look like life has gone to hell, like it's gone to shit, and yet how we relate to it allows for a new possibility. And without sugarcoating things. So it's like some of you may know that this last year and a half has been quite challenging time for me in terms of my wife's health and in terms of just life circumstances. And so it's not about sugarcoating things. It's about standing in the breakdown, to bring that term, to stand in the breakdown. And when we can be totally in the breakdown without having it spin into a story that says something like, see, there you go, like it's proving something, right? When we can let go of that, something very different becomes possible. And for me, what's become possible is like my life is completely, totally different. My relationship with my wife, my relationship with my work, my relationship with world events, my relationship with planet Earth, just like it's a total shift. And had I not gone through, and some of you are shaking your head like I can get that you've been through this, that there are times when we have to allow ourselves to go through whatever hell life brings us in order to realize something significantly new in terms of what's possible. So thank you for bringing that angle in, Torsten. It's great. Great. Okay, let's have that, on that note, let's have that little break, 5 minutes. All right, see ya.
And your invite, Michael, when you sent your invite out, that was on my mind all day. That experience and the relationship with the group and like developing together and that happening. And then the invite came out, right? So I was I smiled when I saw an invite from you, and because it had been a while, and so I felt like, yeah, things had been sort of slumbering and are now like fully awakened again. And this is I think the last 2 hours have been very very energizing for me. So
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that, Paul. Thank you. I look forward to seeing more of you. It's been quite a while.
mm-hmm.
How about Sabina, Linda? Anything you want to bring in, you know, question or whatever, even just hello.
I've spent most of the time in this cohort today to just listen and sensing in all of you. And I can feel like we're like connected in some fragility and longing. That's what I sense. And especially when Eugene speaks, you always move people with you speaking, Eugene. I want to acknowledge your pure love for me. And I also want to honor you, Michael, for whatever you've done for people here, because your fragility also shines through. And that's part of the authenticity that makes me more vibrant and makes me want to do something more than just sitting here and smiling. Mm-hmm. Although I still grappling with what that might be and how that might look like. So that's my thinking.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And what I would invite you to do is I don't know. It's something like sometimes people ask, you know, what can I do? And honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. And I think it's because it's not the question for me to answer. You know, what my job is basically to create, ultimately to create a kind of relational and linguistic environment in which it becomes possible for people to see something for themselves and then kind of like make a stab at something, like take a stab and whatever that might be. And I don't know ultimately.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
It should unfold. Mm-hmm. Eventually
yeah,
it will show up.
That's right.
That's one thing that I've learned during these years, to be with, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And thank you for reminding me of that, because I tend to be a bit of a control freak. That's my kind of intention. And it's partly being an artist, right? As an artist, you need to be a bit of a control freak. And yet at the same time, you have to allow space for, you know, emergence, for accidents, the beauty of accidents. And there's Torsten's puppy. It's not such a puppy anymore.
We all want to go back to the stroller. Lay down and make someone else take care of everything.
Yeah, I know I do sometimes. My wife doesn't like it when I do. So. Cool. Anything from you, Sabina? It's great to see you here.
Yeah, and I was just thinking it's great to see you all again. Also, some new faces for me that I'm curious about. For me, new faces. And I'm so happy to see Suan and Torsten and Janusz and Linda and Eugene, of course, and you, Michael. I'm feeling called out and encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, when we are in each other's clearing, so I am in I noticed a very firm, powerful Eugene. So I was wondering, who am I at the moment that Eugene showed up like this?
Yeah.
And I came in as a lone wolf today. I had a situation of fighting in orange, but at least that's my story. So I was wondering, and then when I heard Eugene talk about we are in service of a greater, it was like, maybe I have to not reject the lone wolf in me, but to find out what's the power of the lone wolf at service for what I stand for, whatever. So thank you, Eugene. Sorry, I have to maybe now canalize it to Eugene, but that's what happened at that moment.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of inner speech going on, but I had some insights today.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and consider that how Eugene showed up was a product of the listening that was present here, right? So that, I think Eugene, I make this up, but I would assert that Eugene was speaking into the listening that was present. And part of how this work works is to create these relational environments in which what gets generated is a systemic field of listening. And that listening becomes a vibrant medium in which speaking, committed speaking, can truly have an effect, like can actually affect things in the quantum field, if you will, to get into that sort of kind of thing. So that's the possibility, that's the potential for a community like this. It's not just let's support one another, right? I mean, yes, that's part of it, but the real power is, what's the listening that we can generate such that powerful speaking and impactful speaking can show up. And then by extension, what's the listening that I might be such that powerful speaking shows up around me, that people empower themselves by having an empowering listening into which their speaking generates something powerful. So you bring the devil out of me too, Sabina. All of you do, actually. Well, so it's 17 minutes after a variety of different hours. And so I want to let's just take a moment to hear from each of you now, what you're taking away from this session, and then we can bring this session to close with the promise that, by the way, I made a complete mayhem of this recording. I neglected to record what I regard to have been the most potent part of this session. So note to self, never do a single session without having an assistant who's, with whom I've designed an alliance with. Okay, all right, I'll stop kicking myself.
Did you record that part, Michael?
Yeah, I did. Good question. Okay, great. So I'm coming away from this session with, and then whatever it is you want to say, a couple words. And Janet, I see your lips moving, but nothing's coming out. This time, I truly can't hear you.
I'm coming away from this session calm and intrigued.
Coming away from this session feeling challenged yet inspired.
I'm feeling filled up.
I'm coming away from this session feeling
reconnected.
I'm feeling relief and human.
I'm full.
I also feel that I'm filled up, and somehow that this is I'm stepping into a great possibility here.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm leaving a little bit shaken, but also inspired by what I heard today.
I'm living this session with a sense of belonging and a sense of service, a new sense of service.
And I'm leaving this session with a sense of fulfillment and connection. What I love most about this work, I realize, is you all, including those of you who couldn't be here, including those of you who haven't been in, I haven't even met yet. And I'm really present to the potential here. Okay, everybody. Have a great day if that's what's in front of you. Have a great night if that's what's in front of you, whatever is in front of you. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you in another session.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
will there be soon more information about the program, Michael? Or is there